Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about something every plant lover needs to know, how to build an indoor garden that'll last forever. Well, almost. We're diving into the 16 longest-lived houseplants that'll thrive in your home for years to come. I'm talking plants that are super low maintenance, forgiving if you forget to water them for a couple of weeks, and will just keep on growing. So whether you've got a green thumb or you're still trying to keep that cactus alive, these plants are going to be your best friends. Alright, kicking things off with one of the toughest plants out there, the snake plant. This one's practically bulletproof. Known for those tall, sword-like leaves and its beautiful dark green and yellow edges, it's perfect if you're looking for something that's gonna stick around for years without needing much from you. Plus, it's super low maintenance. You only need to water it once every couple of weeks. Or whenever you remember, honestly. It actually prefers a little neglect. And it's not just pretty, it'll clean your air too. So, if you want a houseplant that can pretty much survive a zombie apocalypse, snake plant's your go-to. Next up, we've got the dwarf umbrella tree. This one's a classic, especially if you're looking for something that'll bring a little tropical vibe indoors. With those shiny umbrella-shaped leaves, it's a real eye-catcher that can grow to be pretty big if you give it some love. Now, don't let that size fool you. It's actually really easygoing. Just keep it somewhere with indirect light, and give it a drink once the soil's dry. This guy can live a long, happy life in your home, so if you're up for a bit of occasional leaf dusting, the dwarf umbrella tree's a solid pick. Alright, coming in at number 3 is the rubber tree. This is one tough plant with those thick, shiny leaves that have this awesome, deep green color. If you're looking for something that makes a bold statement without a ton of effort, the rubber tree is the way to go. Here's the thing. It loves bright, indirect light and a little extra humidity. So maybe put it near a bathroom or kitchen window if you can. And yeah, it's a bit like having a fancy car. Give those leaves a wipe every now and then to keep them looking shiny. But take care of it, and this plant will last you for decades. Up next, we've got the Monstera, also known as the Swiss cheese plant. And look at this thing. Those big, split leaves are like instant jungle vibes for any room. It's definitely a plant that makes a statement, and can grow huge if you let it. Now, don't worry, it's actually pretty low maintenance. Give it bright, indirect light, water it once the top of the soil is dry, and maybe give it a little mist if you're feeling fancy. It'll grow with you over the years, and honestly, it's hard not to get attached to something this cool looking. Alright, next on the list is the Jade Plant. This is one of those plants that's been around forever. Probably because it's super low maintenance and tough as nails. It's got these thick, fleshy leaves that store water, which means if you forget to water it here and there, it'll forgive you. This plant actually likes a bit of sun, so put it somewhere it can catch some rays, and let the soil dry out between waterings. It's kind of the set-it-and-forget-it plant, and believe it or not, some of these guys can live for decades. You might even end up passing it down someday. Alright. Let's talk about the Ponytail Palm, one of the quirkiest plants you can add to your indoor garden. Look at that thick base. It stores water right in there, making it super easy to care for, even if you're not exactly on top of your watering game. Give this guy some bright light, and you're golden. It's basically like a mini desert plant. Low maintenance and hard to kill. Plus, it's got a look that's hard to ignore. This one's a keeper, and can live for years if you treat it right. Next up is the Sago Palm. Don't let the name fool you, though. It's not a true palm. It's actually closer to a fern. But look at those leaves. It's got that classic tropical look that brings serious style to any room. Now, heads up. This one's a bit slower to grow, but it makes up for it by living forever. Give it bright, indirect light. Let the soil dry out between waterings, and you're set. It's a bit of a showstopper that'll stay with you for years. Just keep it out of reach of pets. This one's not pet-friendly. Alright, next we've got the Scindapsus, sometimes called the silver vine or satin pothos. This plant's a stunner. It's got these silvery, velvety leaves that just pop, and if you let it, it'll trail down and make any space look like a mini jungle. The Scindapsus is super easy to care for too. It likes low to bright, indirect light, and doesn't mind drying out a bit between waterings. Basically, it's happy to just hang out and grow, and trust me, it'll be with you for years if you treat it right. Perfect for adding some life to those higher-up spots or shelves. Next, let's talk about the spider plant. This one's been around forever, and for good reason. It's easy to grow, practically indestructible, and just keeps giving. You get these little baby plants that shoot out, which makes it super fun to watch over time. The best part? It's low maintenance. This one thrives on a bit of indirect light and just needs water when the soil feels dry. And those babies? You can pop them in soil, and boom, new spider plants. So if you're looking for a plant that'll last and even multiply, this one's for you. Next on the list is the wax plant, also known as Hoya. This one's got these thick, glossy leaves that look like they're straight out of a tropical paradise. And if you're lucky, it'll bloom with these little clusters of star-shaped flowers that smell amazing. This plant's a survivor. It can handle bright, indirect light, and it doesn't need much water. Let the soil dry out between drinks, and it's happy. The wax plant is one of those house plants that just keeps going, year after year. Definitely one of those set it and forget it kinds that still looks impressive. Next up, we've got the cast iron plant. And yeah, the name says it all. This one's practically indestructible. Look at those dark green leaves. It's a tough plant that can handle low light, neglect, and pretty much whatever you throw at it. It doesn't need a lot of attention, just water it when the soil's dry, and it'll be good to go. This plant's the definition of a low maintenance, and will keep looking fresh and green for years. If you want a plant that can handle a little forgetfulness, this one's your best bet. Alright, up next is the Philodendron. This one's a classic houseplant that just keeps on giving. Look at those heart-shaped leaves, such a simple, beautiful plant. It's super versatile too. You can let it trail down from a shelf, or even give it something to climb if you want. The best part? It's practically foolproof. It thrives in low to bright indirect light, and only needs water when the top of the soil's dry. This one's super forgiving, so if you're a little forgetful, it'll still do just fine. It'll keep growing for years, and it's one of those plants that's so easy to care for, you'll forget how long you've had it. Next up, we've got the Chinese Evergreen. This one's a real winner if you want something that's easy to care for, but still looks amazing. Look at these leaves, so bold and unique with that silver patterning. It's one of those plants that really catches the eye. And the best part? It thrives in low light. So if you've got a spot in your home that doesn't get a ton of sun, this plant's gonna love it. Just water it when the soil's dry, and it'll keep going strong. The Chinese Evergreen is one of those plants that just keeps on living and looking good for years, no matter what. Next up is the Mistletoe Cactus. This one's a bit different from your usual cactus. It's got these cool, flat, segmented stems that trail down, and it adds a really unique look to any space. It's perfect if you want something that feels a little more unusual, but still easy to care for. The mistletoe cactus is pretty low maintenance too. It likes bright, indirect light, and you don't need to water it too often, just when the soil feels dry. It's one of those plants that'll last you for years and add a bit of character to your home, without being a hassle to take care of. Alright, up next is the Begonia. If you're into plants with some serious personality, this one's for you. Check out those colorful leaves. Some even have a bit of shimmer to them. And these flowers? They'll bloom year-round, giving your space some nice pops of color. Now, the begonia does like a little more attention than some of the other plants, but it's still pretty easy to care for. Keep it in a spot with bright, indirect light, water it when the soil's dry, and it'll thrive. Plus, if you treat it right, this beauty can live for years and keep showing off those amazing leaves and flowers. Alright, last but definitely not least, we've got the Raven ZZ. If you're looking for a plant that makes a statement, this one's got it. Just look at those deep, dark leaves, almost black, right? It's got this sleek, modern vibe that looks great anywhere. Now, don't let those dramatic leaves fool you. This plant's pretty easy to care for. It's super low maintenance, can handle low light, and doesn't need a ton of water. Just let the soil dry out in between watering, and this guy will last for years. It's perfect if you want a plant that's got the looks, but doesn't require a ton of attention. And there you have it. 16 of the longest-lived houseplants you can add to your indoor garden. Whether you're a plant pro or just starting out, these guys are sure to thrive for years to come. If you liked this video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more plant tips. Happy gardening, and I'll see you next time.